It's quite significant that in our 50th year of funding research, 50 years since our founder Mickey Hardy first established an asthma research program, that we're now launching a national asthma research program, and it was certainly one of her greatest aspirations.
50 years ago, Mickey Halliday was the young mother of 2 children with severe asthma.
Physicians ignored it as much as they could and ignored the mothers complaining about asthma. The doctors in the 1950s came out of the university as doctors without any real knowledge of asthma. I felt that nobody cared, and I was totally devastated with their attitude towards me, that I was imagining it, that I was spoiling my child, that I was an over-anxious mother, but they didn't recognise it as a disease. So that I met Leila Smith, and I was had a sympathetic ear to listen to my troubles with Catherine, and then she told me her troubles with Christopher, and I said, well, Leila, how do you feel about setting up a little committee to help asthma? And she thought it was a good idea.
In 1961, the Asthma Foundation of New South Wales was founded, and the first office opened at number 17 Bond Street in early 1962. The foundation's purpose was to raise money for asthma research, and it was immediately successful. The first campaign, which featured everything from dinner parties to fashion parades, even elephant rides, raised £225,000, the largest sum ever raised by an Australian charity at that time. It would equate to millions of dollars today. This money helped to kick-start asthma research in Australia and the careers of young researchers like Anne Woolcott, Judy Black, Ewan Tovey and Sandy Anderson, whose pioneering work has earned them world renown.
They have funded people very early on in their careers, and the value of that is that it then allowed them to get an NHMRC grant. So the leverage was phenomenal. You might get $30,000 one year from Asthma Foundation and $150,000 the following year from NHMRC. That's exactly what we wanted to do.
So without the Asthma Foundation New South Wales funding, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this work. But from seed funding of, say, $150,000, we have secured several $1 million worth of funding for asthma research. Currently, the treatments that we have for asthma that are non-steroid resistant are quite effective. But they only manage the symptoms of the disease. They're ongoing therapies and they're not cures. And there are several issues with taking long-term steroids. And so potentially these things that we're developing are actually cures for the disease. So we can potentially give these therapies and stop people having asthma. And so now we're at an exciting stage where we can start to take our therapies into people, and that's what we're hoping to do this year. And so we're starting putting all the procedures in place to be able to start to treat people with asthma with our new therapies.
And the other thing was in funding PhD students. That was very important to get them on the road. And I think those 2 aspects have really shown that you can, from a very small base, create an entire community involved in asthma.
So I was diagnosed with asthma when I was 2 years of age, so I've got a personal connection in wanting to study asthma. So the Asthma Foundation New Investigator Grant worth $25,000 allowed me to collect pilot data to put together grant applications, particularly the NHMRC grant application that is now going to fund my research to the tune of $330,000 for the next 3 years.
Despite the great advancements that have occurred over the last 5 decades, which have really revolutionised the lives of people with asthma, there's still many things we don't know and many answers that we have to find. The foundations are all combining their resources and running a national program, which we believe will be a much more attractive proposition for funders.
The Asthma Foundation of New South Wales, as you know, has a proud tradition of supporting and funding high quality research. We've spent more than $7 million over the years, and we've played the role in putting Australia on the global research map of asthma. This year it was decided to operate the research program on a national basis, thus supporting the very best of research, irrespective of its jurisdiction. And we got 73 applications from that. That is an absolutely staggering number of people around Australia who wanted to do a research program in asthma.
So in its inaugural year, the National Research Program is going to fund projects to the tune of around $500,000. There are some very interesting and diverse projects. One is looking at what kind of asthma Indigenous children have.
Asthma still has its many mysteries, and an alarming rise in vulnerable communities has sparked some fresh research, which could help every sufferer. John Hill explains.
A spike in asthma rates among Indigenous Australians has raised questions about whether they have a different type of asthma. A new research program is being set up to test the theory.
Well, we hope to identify better treatment options for people with asthma by better understanding what type of asthma they have. About
10% of Australians have asthma. Rates among the Aboriginal population are higher, and they don't respond as well to conventional treatments.
They're 1.5 times more likely to have asthma and 2.5 times more likely to die from it.
The research will be conducted through a nationwide program called Adolescent Asthma Action. Samples from children in the program will be tested to determine whether there are different types of asthma. The peer program is credited with saving lives. Now it could lead to a treatment breakthrough.
The person who kick-started it all, Mickey Hardy, had the vision, and so in her honour, because she passed away at the end of 2011, the foundation has decided to create a PhD scholarship in her name. We intend to continue to develop the researchers of tomorrow, so PhD scholarships form an important part of our funding program. We have 2 million Australians living with this disease every day and 400 that die every year, and frankly that's 400 too many. So with your help we can continue the great work that's been started and find better ways to diagnose, prevent and treat asthma, and ultimately to help people lead full and active lives.